Yes, over to you, Claire.
Hello there. So let me find my presentation. Everybody see that?
Yes.
So, morning everybody, Claire Garrett from the Harbour project. Like everybody else, I'm going to give you a really quick canter through about who we are and what we do, and let's see if we've got some time for questions as well as we go through that. So the Harbour project supports people seeking asylum and refugees in Swindon, and I'll describe a bit about what that means, and sometimes those two terms are used interchangeably, and then I'll talk about the people we support and the type of work that we do. So a refugee is somebody that is fleeing conflict or persecution, and their request for sanctuary has been agreed by the government of that country. Whereas in contrast, an asylum seeker has requested sanctuary, but their claim has not yet been processed. So effectively what that means is that, so an asylum seeker has asked for safety and is still in a legal process with the UK government whilst that claim is assessed. And if and when they are successful in that, which is about a 50-50 chance, they will then secure refugee status. But the rights of an asylum seeker and refugees are very different, and I'll come on to that in a moment. So one of the big points I always make is that we often talk, or we hear lots, don't we, in the press about immigration, and at the moment there is quite a lot of attention through. There's a new immigration bill that's particularly focusing on asylum seekers. All immigration and asylum aren't the same thing. Asylum is a very, very small part of all of immigration. So I love this chart because I love a few pictures, but across the world, there's about 80 million people who are forcibly displaced from their homes. So that's the population of UK and Belgium altogether. All of those people are on the move somewhere and have had to leave their homes probably in very short times. Then around 480,000 applications are coming to Europe each year. So again, that's about the population of Bristol. So across all of Europe, and the countries that take most asylum seekers are actually Germany, Spain and Greece. And then from that 480,000, about 32,000 of those make it to the UK. So that's the population of Trowbridge. And in terms of the chances of success in there, in terms of positive decisions each year, it's about 13,000. So that's the population of Wootton Bassett. So that's the number of asylum seekers in the UK and the number of refugees in the UK. In terms of what we do, I'll run through this really quickly. So we've been around since May 2000. We're a registered charity, and the Swindon is what's called a home office dispersal town. So that means there is accommodation in Swindon for asylum seekers. And actually the accommodation capacity in Swindon is for about 250 asylum seekers at any one time. Our main funders are National Lottery, Lloyds, Bank Foundation, Swindon Borough Council, Blagrave Trust, and a number of others. And that's a picture of the staff team there in the corner. Really importantly, is the piece on the right side, is that we can't do what we do on our own. We work with lots and lots of other agencies, many of whom are probably on this call today. So we work with lots of different parts of the council. We work with different housing providers. We certainly work with Booth House and Chloe and her team, organisations such as Red Cross, lots of schools and faith groups, lots of solicitors, lots of other organisations there that you recognise. And the more that we understand about that network, the more value I think that we can help our people, and hopefully you can help your people as well. We call the beneficiaries of our charity our visitors, and the reason why we use that term is that so we don't differentiate between somebody who's an asylum seeker or somebody who's a refugee, or indeed somebody who's what's called appeal rights exhausted. So that's when somebody's come to the end of the road with their legal rights. We've got around 570 people registered with us, which includes about 140 children. People range in age from about 0 to 72, I think, at the moment. Includes lots of families. People come from 47 different countries, so we have lots and lots of different languages. And those are the top countries there, but pretty well name a country around the world and we might have seen somebody from that country if they're claiming asylum. And over the last year, we've still continued to see new people arriving with us. So we've had about 164 new people coming in. And when I talk about LTR in the corner there, that's positive leave to remain decisions. So people who've had a positive decision from the UK courts to say that they can continue their life in the UK. In the interest of the main things we are. I think we are often actually just a first friendly face for people as they arrive in Swindon is what we're about. We're not solicitors, we're not the Home Office, we're not the decision makers in people's cases. What our intention really is that people have the best possible chance of really understanding the asylum system that they're part of, making sure they have a fair hearing, and hopefully they have a fair future in the UK. If they are to get refugee status, we want our people to thrive, not become dependent upon us, and go on to lead fulfilling lives and contribute to the community that they've come to. What we don't do is we don't own any of the housing. We don't know the ins and outs of our visitors' stories. They tell us if they choose to, but we certainly don't pry. It's not for us to know the ins and outs of their cases, why they've needed to leave their homes or what's going on in their lives. And we certainly don't interfere, or even if we wanted to, we have no ability to interfere in Home Office decisions. Conscious of time, so in terms of what we do, there's a lot of what we do, and this chart hopefully helps to summarise this, and also maybe I should and also brings to light the difference between an asylum seeker and a refugee. So, and obviously this is in normal times, and what I'll also talk about a bit is what we've been doing over the last year through the pandemic. So people will arrive in Swindon and they will be into an asylum support house, which might be anywhere in the town, so that accommodation is distributed around the town. Our immediate support is typically around making sure people are signed up with a GP, making sure children are in school, and all the old children that come through Harbour are all registered with schools or nurseries, helping people access to education, making sure that people have legal representation and people have and also have their ID cards and have access to their asylum support, and help people at this point when people first arrive. They probably don't have any other friends in Swindon. They probably speak very, very little English, and they don't have that support network or know about, who do I contact for what. That process then probably goes on. The Home Office might tell you that it takes around 6 months to get a decision. It can take anything up to 10 years, I've seen with people, of when they get a decision from the Home Office. They may get refused. Hopefully at some point in there, people will be granted leave to remain, and at that point they are granted refugee status. At the point when somebody's granted refugee status, they have 28 days to leave their accommodation and either find work and find somewhere to live. So that's a really intense time for us as we support people through that, in making sure they've got a new source of income, accessing benefits that they might need, making sure they've got accommodation, and they know about how to develop their CVs, connections with employers, and other things that they want to do. So our core 3 activities are around social space, which has been a bit of a challenge over the last year, help with help and advice over a range of topics that people need. So we make lots of phone calls, speak to lots of solicitors, lots of other agencies, and also we have daily English classes. And they are free to access for anybody that's in the asylum system. And they've been carrying on over the last year, but they've all been via Zoom and remote work, but that they will resume in the next weeks. Actually, we've just started again now. So in addition to that, so there are a key 3 core activities, but we have loads of other stuff going on. So we have maths classes, we have a counsellor, we do lots of stuff with bikes, and we've got a football team, we have food when we're allowed to do food, we have a sewing group, we've got a women's group, we've got homework club, lots of things, and lots of those activities are just starting to start up again now. So our homework club and our women's group and our English classes are all starting to meet face to face.
1 minute, please.
1 minute. I'm just going to do one last slide.
Thanks.
So, as an asylum seeker, despite what people might read in the press or how it's positioned, an asylum seeker is entitled to an allowance of £39.63 a week, and that's per person. So if you think a bus pass in Swindon, is it a weekly bus pass? Is it £14.80 these days? And a daily travel ticket is £4.80. So people are living on very little means. So whilst we're really not about money, we do help people wherever we can. We've done lots of support over the last year with food parcels, but in terms of and with that, people are making significant choices. We've got people on our books that have never been to never been to a cinema, never been able to, the option to have a takeaway meal or anything like that is beyond what they're able to do. So having a safe social space with us is really key and what we're really keen to get back to. So there we go, Joel, that's me.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Claire. And we'll open it to the floor. Questions for Claire? Over to you. It's a huge amounts of stuff going on. Oh, JP, I can see a JP and
that's me again.
JP?
Yeah, that's me, Joe. It's not a question, it's really a comment. I had some support for a patient from the Harbour project about 2 or 3 years ago. A family from Eritrea, I think. I don't know if I spelled that wrong. I didn't even know that existed, and yeah, it was a great support. So yeah, thank you very much for your help.
Thank you. I saw then Melanie and then Cher. If we can keep them brief. Over to you, Melanie.
Well, mine was just a comment. I didn't realise how much the Harbour project did. So that was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. It's great. Cher.
I was just going to ask, on top of their £39.63 a week, do they get their rent and their bills helped with as well? So their fuel bills and any council tax, do they get help with that as well?
Yeah. So absolutely, yes. So as an asylum seeker, you are allocated accommodation on what's called a no choice basis. So people haven't asked to come to Swindon, they're just dispersed wherever. So yeah, £39.63 covers your food, your toiletries, your travel. So if you have an appointment with a solicitor, you'll have to cover that from your £39.63 to get to London or Cardiff or somewhere. But yes, at that point there is no utilities or council tax. But part of the challenge there, Cher, is that then as if people get refugee status, they are very unlikely to have any savings because they've lived on their money. So at that point then, when people need a deposit for a house or to people don't have anything behind them. So at that point then we are looking for housing and if there is any gap in that, sometimes it's got a lot better these days, but there used to be quite a gap before the first universal credit payments came in. People are really struggling. So it doesn't take very much, as lots of you guys can imagine, for the wheels to fall off in people's lives.
You're muted.
Sorry. On a follow-up to that, when I worked for Threshold, we used to have a rent deposit scheme, which I think is transferred to the Salvation Army now for homeless people. But is there any movement to recreate a rent deposit scheme for your asylum seekers and refugees so that when they hit that barrier of having to move out of the allocated accommodation, that there is also a safety net where a deposit and maybe a damage waiver can be guaranteed for them? Is that with the Borough Council, or would you prefer it to be with the Harbour?
Yes, so again, I have a really strong view of we do what we're best at and other organisations do what they're best at. So that's where we work really, really closely with the housing teams in Swindon Borough. We also work with an organisation called Deventio a lot, which are a local housing provider, accommodation provider. So lots of our single folks will go into Deventio accommodation, and that might give them just a bit of time to get some money together and get work and those sorts of things. And but also, so we work very much with the council and access to things like deposit schemes and that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Well, we'll take one more question before we have to move on. So Sarah Adams.
Yeah, morning everyone. Hiya, Claire. I work with Swindon Send Families Voice, and we support parents and carers of children with special educational needs children from 0 to 25. I'm just wondering if you need any support from our direction, if you have families entering the UK, if they have special needs children, and how we go about linking up with you guys, really.
That would be fantastic, Sarah. So what's happened over the last year, actually, if you'd, and Joel used to have some involvement in the Harbour, if you'd asked the Harbour 3-5 years ago, I would have said the majority of our people are young single men. That's changed in the last couple of years in that, so the number of children we have on our books has doubled in the last year. So almost everybody that's arriving is now a family. And actually with families comes, you know, school places, nursery places, maternity issues. There's far more safeguarding issues than just general complex needs. But yeah, we have certainly got, so, you know, children are straight into school, often with no English, and that we certainly have some children on our needs with extra, you know, special needs as well. So it'd be great to link up with you, Sarah.
Thank you. That'd be brilliant. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for those questions and comments, and thanks again, Claire, for joining us. That's really great. So the final presentation, we're going to be having a video, and this is well, another organisation that works with people coming to the country. So this is Swindon City of Sanctuary, and I